you think there ever comes a point where you just stop failing? Because I'm 36 now and I'm like, I hope I don't have another one.
I don't, sorry.
Pepe Villatoro turned the biggest business taboo into a global empire. His Fuck Up Nights movement spans 90 countries, and Fortune 500 companies now pay him to run in-house workshops on learning from mistakes.
Things are going wrong all the time.
Failure sucks, failure is painful. It's not about celebrating failure.
For entrepreneurs, failure isn't rare, it's constant. The question is, how do you survive it?
If it's reversible, go for it, try it, break things. But if it's irreversible, let's wait a second, come all together, plan in a better way.
It all comes down to accountability and ownership over your own actions, ultimately, right?
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm living my failure right now.
Oh, that's moving, actually. Learn how the world's biggest failures became the greatest assets. Next on Winning Friends. Welcome to Winning Friends, the podcast for entrepreneurs without borders, where we learn how to build meaningful connections that drive our businesses forward, powered by e-residency of Estonia. I'm Logan Merrick, and this is Dylan Hay.
And today we're talking to someone who took one of the biggest taboos in business, which is failure, and turned it into an event series and corporate training business spanning 90 plus countries. Pepe Villatoro co-founded Fuck Up Inc., where people pay to hear strangers talk about their failures. Pepe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no problem. I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you today. Let's get started with what is a fuck up night? I think we have to begin there, right?
I think you're just excited to be swearing.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
It's happening.
I'm allowed.
So Fuck Up Nights is the fastest growing and most active entrepreneurs movement on the planet. We have more than 250 active teams in more than 70 countries that organize events and build communities where people share stories of failure, their biggest blunders, painful mistakes, bankruptcies, etc. Everything goes. And with all that noise all over the world, we get approached by all these huge organizations, very influential organizations that want to work with us to bring authenticity, vulnerability, and trust to their teams to change the paradigm. And I love that because that's why I wake up every day super excited to work on this, because I think that people can only live to the fullest if they are not afraid of failure, and you allow yourself to try and to try better and to learn from that and to see failure as a path to grow. So that's what Fuck Up Nights is.
Were you afraid of failure before you became involved and started this business?
I'm still afraid of failure, yeah, for sure. There's this famous philosopher who said the biggest burden of life in capitalism is fear of failure. And he said that 150 years ago or 130 years ago. And what would he say today, right? When all my friends are living the perfect lives in Tulum with mojitos on Instagram, and there's so much competition. You feel like you're expected to do better and better, and you're not enough. So it is a huge fear for everyone. The important part is to understand that difficulties will happen, that failure can also happen from things that you cannot control. An earthquake in Mexico City, a global pandemic, a crazy president in a certain country, etc., etc. So the important thing is how you react to it. You need to learn to be self-aware and to do a lot of self-development to learn how to react to it and use it as a tool for growth.
Because it must be a right way to fail and a wrong way to fail. If you fail gracefully versus if you fail and throw in the towel and I'm never going back to work ever again. Or
is there though? Is there a right and a wrong way to fail? I don't know about that. Maybe that's something that people ask you. What would you say? Is there a good way to fail and a bad way to fail?
It's all about self-awareness and self-knowledge. So when you know yourself, you can try things. And you can even burn the ships and commit fully to something and fail massively. But the way you treat the failure and the way you impact people around you will be the right way, values-based with principles. But for example, when I was younger and I was super afraid of failure and I didn't know what I was doing, and I bought the definitions of success from magazines and from Hollywood, etc., then I did poorly in managing my failures, and I was ashamed, and I put the body in the closet. I didn't want to talk about it, and I wasn't transparent with people. So I think that's the wrong way to fail.
Do you think there ever comes a point where you just stop failing? Or like, these like massive, like colossal fuck ups, for the lack of a better word. Do you think that ever comes a time? Because I'm 36 now and I'm like, I hope I don't have another one.
I don't, sorry.
Sorry I got some bad news for you, dude. But I feel like maybe it will just be they keep happening, but we have more reps at dealing with them, right? Like we learn how to deal with them more, maybe. I don't know, because if you think about, I couldn't even tell you the first time I had a failure. It's impossible to remember like what your first time something went wrong is, right? But like in business, I feel like as a CEO, someone running a company, like things are going wrong all the time. At the beginning, I used to get anytime something went wrong, I would get very emotional, right? Whereas now, 7-8 years later, I'm like a lot less emotionally reactive when something does go wrong. I feel like I've got better at handling my own emotions. That's not really anything to do with the failure. It's like handling yourself internally. So maybe, I don't know what you're going to say, but maybe it's like that. As these things keep happening, it's more so we have to learn how to deal with ourselves more so than deal with the actual failure. I don't know.
Yeah. One thing that is very important is how you evolve, in the sense that I truly believe that in doing business at the speed of trust. That's one of my main values in my professional life. And so if you don't know yourself, and if you haven't asked what you truly value, and you just want to be the next Elon Musk or the next Shakira or whomever, guess what? Like, I'm not the best at being Shakira. Shakira is the best at being Shakira.
I don't know. I reckon you could shake that.
my hips. Yeah. No. But so yeah, if you don't make the hard questions and you don't know yourself, then you will react in a poor way, and you will lose trust because you are not authentic, you're not vulnerable, because you don't allow to be, because you're afraid. You're a facade.
Yeah, so there's like an authenticity that comes with not being afraid of failure, not avoiding the shame of having had a failure. So when you move forward, but it's like when you were describing these like day-to-day failures, because we both run our own companies, and you do have cock-ups every now and again, and it's just part of the game. But those massive, like, destructive events that you get completely wiped out. That's like, in a boxing match, you're getting a jab. You can get used to that, but you get a big hook from Mike Tyson or something that there's no coming back almost. Or that leaves some trauma, right?
Yeah. Some people ask me, Pepe, so you're saying that we should celebrate failure? And I tell them, well, the short answer is no. No worry. Like, failure sucks. Failure is painful. It's not about celebrating failure or failing for the sake of failing, right? It's about how you fail, and how, if you grow from it or if you don't. So you definitely shouldn't celebrate failure if it comes from lack of discipline, from selfishness, from not knowing yourself, etc. But if you're trying something better based on your values, or your team is trying something better and makes a mistake with the best interest of the team in mind, then you should celebrate what I call the educated trying. Not just trying, but educated. And with educated, I mean watching the downside, so you don't destroy your life or your company. I also mean what Jeff Bezos said, for example, making the distinction between reversible and irreversible decisions. So if it's reversible, go for it, try it, break things, ask for forgiveness, that's fine. But if it's irreversible, let's wait a second, come all together, plan in a better way. So yeah, there are ways to fail, and it's not just about failing for the sake of failing. It's very similar to deliberate practice. Like this idea of the 10,000 hours to become great at something. Well, it's not just 10,000 hours of doing the same thing over and over again, right? It's being 1% better every try, every time you try. And that's deliberate, and that's how you learn, and that's how you grow. And I think it's the same for failure, even bringing it to the design of your life, to the person that you want to become and the life you want to live.
Because there's massive learnings embedded in those failures. Like, I had a I had a massive failure. Or in the context of Logan, I had a massive failure when I was younger. I was 25 or 26. I had built this company. It was an agency. We were doing quite well. We had a big team, big office, etc. And then 1 year just started going backwards. The market turned. And then within 12 months, within maybe 10 months or 9 months, we were gone. The company was liquidated and sold off to, for scraps, basically. And I came away from that devastated. I was, it took years. It took years and years and years. And the only thing that kind of helped me to get back on my feet again was to look at the things really look at everything with open eyes and see where I had made mistakes and see where I was coming from and where my ego had gotten involved and why things happened. And that was the only reason I was able to come back, because otherwise you go into the next business and you carry on these beliefs that you have, why did I fail? Well, I failed because I'm Logan Merrick, for example. So that was, I don't know, is that something you bring into your practice?
That's a huge learning, that failure is not an identity. You're not a failure. You're not a loser.
Yeah, because I felt like a loser.
To be right. If you don't step back up and if you don't learn from it, and if you allow it to become your identity, then the problem is that you start believing it. And if you have that belief, it influences your actions. So it reinforces that identity. But failure is not an identity. You go through a failure, you live through a failure, and that's it. It doesn't define you nor your worth. And that's a very important thing to keep in mind in this world where it's like our last names are our company's names, or what we do, or our title. And no, that's not who we are.
Yeah, that would be a massive mistake, right? If you called,
yeah, who would put their name in their company name? My surname is in my company's name. That's the joke that Logan's making. So tell me, like, an actual one of your events, one of these fuck up nights, like, can these become quite emotional sometimes? Or like, what does I don't know if they're always, I guess they must be evenings all the time, right? Because fuck up nights. So like, what does an evening look like at one of these events?
Let's talk about civilization.
Yeah.
The way we have evolved as a civilization is telling stories.
Yeah.
What are the good stories? What makes a good story? It's the emotions.
Yeah.
It's, the hero's journey. Thank you, Joseph Campbell. It's a great structure and we use it a lot and it works perfectly well. But sometimes, for example, in Silicon Valley or whatever, where you have big egos, people see a microphone and get on a fuck up night stage and they share the story, but they don't share the emotions. They are not really vulnerable. So it becomes what I call a transactional story of failure. Like, don't hire a bad accountant. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Good tip.
But it's really when the good stuff is when people share how they felt, the difficult conversations they had, like what you talk about with your friends, with your spouse, and what were you thinking? Oh, I'm gonna lose my job. My life is destroyed. I'm a failure, etc., etc. And when people share that, then they build a lot of empathy through that vulnerability. And that creates the magical spaces of psychological safety that fuck up nights are when we do it right. And when we coach speakers right and we allow them to be themselves and authentic. So yes, emotions are a core part of it. And it's also why we have become this very successful social enterprise, like profitable, bootstrapped, self-funded, growing 1%, 100% year over year. How did that happen? Because we stayed stubborn or authentic, if you want to call it
Stubbornly
that.
Authentic, yeah.
So the organizations all over the world, like we work with Airbus, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, you name it, like many Fortune 500s and amazing influential organizations all over the world come to us saying, bring that magic. Because it's not easy to be authentic and vulnerable. And they always say, with their managers or with the HR department, they won't open up. But with you guys, they do. So please make them open up. That's how we do it.
I would love to learn about some of the learnings that you've had from these events and over the years. But a quick question first, and I don't know if you even track this, but like how many events, like how many fuck up nights, how many corporate events have happened within the business?
Oof.
Do you know? Like even roughly, it must be thousands, tens of thousands, something like that.
Dozens of thousands, yeah.
Okay. And has there been, like, after all these years and thousands of stories that you must have heard, has there been one or two failures? And we don't have to go through the details of them, but have there been one or two failures that have like reshaped or changed the way that you feel about failures?
There is one that comes to mind.
Okay.
A very good friend from Mexico. I remember he was on stage in Mexico City sharing a story on how he went bankrupt with a certain company. And I coached him to share that story, so I knew what he was going to say. And at the middle of the story, he stops and just is quiet for a few seconds and then starts breaking down. And he's like, no, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm living my failure right now. My biggest failure right now. My biggest failure is not being brave enough to quit my job, lose my check, and go follow my dreams with my friends who are co-founding another company. And he started crying and had to change the whole thing. And I got on stage and hugged him and the audience was amazing, supporting him. That's the peak of vulnerability, in my opinion. You know, changing your plans in front of everyone, showing what you're really feeling and thinking, even though you're not proud of it and you're feeling a little bit ashamed and you don't know what you think about yourself. That changed my perspective. And I said, I want to be like Luis when I grow up. Like I want to be as, courageous as he was.
Yeah, wow, that's moving actually.
Yeah, it's cool to think about the impact that one story and one person can have, not just on you, but on so many people, because I'm sure there are many people who would have been in the audience that night that will remember that moment too, right? Which is like, yeah, it's really cool. How about something you said earlier when we were talking about Silicon Valley? It was maybe like a passing comment, but like this egotistical element sometimes of it's a badge of honor now to share failures sometimes, right? And I was curious heading into our conversation today of like, okay, sharing a failure is great. And a lot of people will some people will be happy to share these failures now, especially if it's like weirdly like a cool story or something like this, right? Stand up in front of this audience, tell them about how I failed. But like, how do we make sure, and have you seen any recurring themes or habits or behavioral patterns of people that have these failures and actually take significant learnings from those failures to make sure that, not to make sure it doesn't happen again, because failures are always going to happen, but what themes are there what themes do you see from those people who have a failure and actually make sure they learn from that failure,
100,000 entrepreneurs can't be wrong.
The Winning Friends podcast is brought to you by e-Residency of Estonia.
Because you didn't start your business to drown in paperwork, and Estonia gets it. That's why they built e-Residency, a government-backed digital ID that lets you run your entire company online.
Set up an EU company in just 18 minutes, manage everything online with no travel required, and access the world's most advanced digital nation.
Just visit eresident.gov.ee. Details in the description below.
It's going back to self-awareness. It's like therapy. It's like coaching. Like you can hire a coach, but if you don't really want to benefit from it, if you don't really want to challenge yourself, well, it's a waste. And we see something very similar happen. Fuck Up Nights is very sexy and viral and growing and blah, blah, blah. So people say, I want to be on stage for exposure. Right. I want to be
like
the
attached
cool guy
with the brand too. And I want to be cool and I want to share my story. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's amazing because, we have a pull versus push strategy and everything comes to us and that's lovely. But we need to be very careful on who we bring on board because they might humble brag. They might not be ready to share something cool. And that's not what we want to foster, right? Not the transactional failure and especially not the humble bragging and but currently I'm super successful. All that bullshit. So it's about seeing growth in business life as a path, not as an end state. we live life thinking of end states. When I retire, when I marry, when I buy my house, blah, blah, blah. That's how we were brought up, what society told us on how to think about life. And that's super dangerous because, again, going back to the means to an end, you are telling yourself that you are not enough, that you need to get there to be happy, that you are a failure until you do this or that. And that's not true. And when we change that, we begin to understand that everything evolves. Our purpose will evolve. Our companies will change. Who we are will evolve. And when we go through a failure, if we talk about how to cope with it, one thing that I love to tell people is think about what you're going to think about this terrible moment that you are living right now in 10 years from now. Typically the answer is I'll laugh about it. And that takes a big weight off your shoulders. So yeah, that's the way I like to think about everything now. It's like a path, it's progress, it's evolution, it's 1% better every day, and not an end state. Because then when you get there, as we were talking about earlier, you get to the financial independence or to the big number and one of two things will happen. Either you will want more, and again, you're not enough, and you're not happy, and or you might lose everything, like I did. So yeah, don't live life thinking of end states, imaginary, arbitrary end states.
Yeah, because everything's kind of in flux. I've noticed this maybe over the last 10 years that you look at people who have done really well, and it's kind of like their financial position is it's always in flux, And even you were sharing before that you had a wipeout event 8 years ago, and now you're probably better off than you were even before then. So I think someone who has this idea that, one day I'm going to retire, I'm going to be, XYZ, like that end state, you would be out for the count, right? Like you'd just give up. Okay, I screwed up now.
Because there kind of never is an end state, really, right? Because even in business, it's like, okay, you set a goal for yourself. Like think about where you have been in your business at different times, where I am now, where you are, like where you're at this exact moment in time was probably not even a goal of yours one day. It was like beyond the goal. I could say that for myself. I remember when I was starting my business, it was like, okay, the idea of just getting the business to like 10, 20K a month was like the goal at that point. Now that's like so far in the past, And so really there isn't this end state. The end state is always evolving. And if you take it away from business, think about the paddle game, dude. It's like each time we play, I'm just trying to get 1% better, so my rating goes up a little bit, But it's interesting. And you've talked about failure, like some of the failures that you've experienced through witnessing other people, through yourself. But do you have a framework for, like, let's say there is a failure. I don't know how serious we need to make this like pretend failure to be right now, but let's say
super serious.
Something really serious. Let's say you wake up tomorrow, there's been a really big problem within your business or your personal life.
You're back to zero.
Yeah, you're back to zero. How do you not tell people, how do you coach people to deal with that? Is there a framework that you follow or a process or something like this?
First, the bad news. You don't become ready for that like overnight, or thanks to someone else, a coach or
it's gonna suck regardless, right?
Yeah,
exactly. You need to prepare for your entire life, and you need to build who you are, starting today, hopefully. And that means, what's my purpose? How do I want to be of service to society, to the world? What do I really value? Not what others say that I should value, but what brings me bliss. To define your values, I would recommend following your gut more than your brains. So what brings you bliss? What gives you energy instead of draining energy? And that's what you really value as a human being, as an animal. And so yeah, if you work on all of this, and then also your emotional reactions and all of that, you will be way more prepared to deal with a massive failure like you guys are mentioning in day one. Now, again, it's not an end state. It's not like, oh, I need to be the Buddha to deal with a failure. I mean, we're all in different stages in life. So when failure happens, I think the first nice, healthy reaction is to remember that you are not a failure. That is not an identity. You are so used to working on your startup, on whatever, that you think that's who you are. But then a couple of days after that, you remember that you're not. And you start feeling free and maybe even thankful, grateful for that change. And then a few days later, I would recommend thinking about two things. What are you going to think about about this failure in 10 years from today? And the other one is act as if your decisions today are going to appear on the newspaper tomorrow for everyone to see. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I first failed and I wasn't ready for it and I was young and inexperienced, I broke a lot of relationships. I lost friendships. I lost my girlfriend back then because I didn't know how to react, because I didn't know who I was. So think about the newspaper. What would happen if your decisions today appear on the newspaper tomorrow? And that saves face, but most importantly, your biggest asset as a business person is your reputation, your reliability. So you keep that alive and healthy, even when you fail. And you start learning that you go to have those difficult conversations like, oh, guess what? I lost all your money, investor. And you see that fear is a mile wide, but an inch deep. So when you're afraid of having that conversation with your investor, with your spouse, with whomever, you see an ocean in front of you, like, oh my God, so much fear. But then you step in and you're like, oh, that was it. That was way easier than I expected it to be. It's always the case. So if we stay there because of the fear, we keep building up on it, and we create soap operas and nightmares in our heads and a lot of suffering for free. Just go for it. Go run to the fire. Go have that conversation, and you will keep and even strengthen your reputation.
Yeah, I found the same thing, that when you just do whatever needs to be done and don't think about it, like don't overthink it and dramatize it and emotionalize it, and just go and do it and don't hide away from the feelings, just go and do it. It makes everything easier. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and that's outside of failing too, right? That's like challenging conversations in business, or like if someone's not performing to the expectations that you have of them, it's very easy to overthink what that conversation is going to look like. But when you start, it's like the advice people give when you're trying to get into exercising again for the first time or something like that. Like just put your running shoes out the night before, and it makes the getting changed, like all you need to do is get changed and then you're good to go, right? It's like that, just taking that first step can often be the hardest, but once you're through that, everything else becomes easier, I guess.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Not to quote Nike.
Yeah. Okay. And so you've talked a lot already about values, right? What are some of your personal values?
I have 5 of them.
Okay.
Enthusiasm, ownership, which goes like ownership in all of the senses, even in business, integrity, trust, and love. I have a lovely business partner from Cientica, and that's why I'm in Estonia. Thanks to my business partner, we are establishing conversations for potential global partnerships with the Estonian government, and we were talking about that, trust and love as, and he also mentioned like goodness as one of his values, and we automatically connected on that. And one thing I've learned from almost 20 years of creating businesses is that even if there's a bright, shiny object, if it comes with the wrong people that you don't completely trust, you better say no. You better wait. it's way healthier to move slower, to grow slower, but with the right people on board. And then that pays off like nicely afterwards.
It's like dating, isn't it? Like you don't want to go, oh, well, you know, she's got nice hair, but awful personality.
Exactly.
Good enough. You know?
Yeah.
But that, okay. So what was the first one again? It was
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. What if you don't feel enthusiastic?
Like just
Why
about
wouldn't
life
you?
generally, or like business, or like
Like, let's say if you make a decision about something, are you going to make a decision about something because you feel enthusiastic about it versus if you don't feel enthusiastic about it?
But I think that's the importance of values. If you're always enthusiastic, you don't need to value it. It's just, automatic. But you value things that you want to see more of, that you want to be more of. And that's why I actually started with joy. And then I switched it to enthusiasm, which I think fits better with my life right now. And it's not only a value, but sort of a goal as well. Something to strive for.
Gotcha. So you want to be more enthusiastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I understand that it's not, normal. It's not, human to be always enthusiastic or joyful. It doesn't even make sense, right? To be happy or joyful, you need to be down sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
It's symbiotic.
Yeah.
But I value it, so I foster it and I work towards it. And I work on my emotional habits, the way, my discipline, my routines, everything towards that.
And what about trust for you? Why is that important? And I ask because I'm trying to like figure out what are my own values and how do I think about this. So how did you come about choosing trust as one of your values?
One day I heard this investor, an American investor, launched a VC fund in Mexico, and someone asked him, why did you open your VC fund in Monterrey, Mexico? And he said, because business is done at the speed of trust. And in Monterrey, with a handshake, I can make $1 million businesses deals. And I stole that idea. Like, that's exactly how I want to live life. And I've realized that sometimes because you need to pay rent, because you want to grow faster, because you have an urgency, you tend to go with the first opportunity that you find or the first person that you find, and that doesn't work. And I made that mistake so many times.
I'm trying to practice that more at the moment, actually, especially with hiring too. Like
follow your gut. Big for me.
Because like, there's a role that I don't want to say I need someone for right now, but it would be really great for us in the business if I had someone in this specific role. And I've interviewed people, I found some people that were okay, but I've learned from previous mistakes, like not to take the person that I feel is okay or good, especially when it's such an important role within the business. Like it can wait another month or a couple months if that means I find the right person, right? But I when I was young, or I'm still young, but when I was younger, like when I was very new into running a business, if I needed a role filled, if I needed this person, if I found someone that was like okay enough, I would almost like convince myself that I should go with them, and that's along similar lines to what you just shared.
We have this one internally in our business between my wife and I work with my wife. He does as well with his own wife. And it's, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but it's like this, in business, like everything's urgent. And so we run a headhunting company. We help direct-to-consumer brands hire Philippine talent, so top-end e-commerce talent. And I swear, like 90% of the time that someone comes to us, it's urgent. We urgently need to place this role. And I'm always like I'm sorry, but like nothing's urgent. Like really nothing is that urgent. It's only as urgent as you make it. And I feel like as a society, we're very much like entrenched in this idea. And this is something that, in my opinion, causes more fuck ups than anything else, because we're just rushing, and you rush every decision, and so we just tell our clients, like, take your time, man, like just slow it down, move at the speed of trust.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm gonna maybe steal that from you too.
Please do. I also stole it.
Yeah, okay.
Just a bunch of thieves here.
I've noticed. I don't know if it was something that I read or maybe something you said earlier. I don't know, but you talk about wanting to design your own life, I think, in a way where, as a CEO, as an executive, that you are, I don't know, like living life and the role on your own terms, right? But what does that actually look like for you at the moment? Because you've been involved in some very high growth, fast paced, I would imagine, you don't have to say this, but like crazy business environments at points. Like you were at WeWork when it was
in the heyday,
in the crazy times. Okay. Like you were at Deal, which was, I think is maybe one of, if not the fastest growing startup ever. I don't know. So like I'm assuming you've been in some crazy environments. So designing your life, your role now, what does that actually look like for you?
Yes, I have worked in amazing places that taught me a lot and opened many doors, and I made good money. And I saw that I mortgaged my life doing something that I didn't really value, that I didn't really want to do, or wasn't super exciting, or wasn't my purpose, because I was looking for financial independence. And now when I look back on it, I see that I was sort of mortgaging my life, or selling my life and my body, for money.
Yeah.
And after losing everything financially, I had this moment of realization saying, wait a second, I think my new definition of success is being okay with losing everything. Because if Fuck Up Nights is fucked up tomorrow and disappears tomorrow, what do you think I'm going to be doing tomorrow? The exact same thing. Because I'm living the life I want to live today. So that's why that's my new definition of success, and that's how I design my life today. Not mortgaging my life, not thinking of future imaginary arbitrary end states, but doing things the way I want to do them with the people I want to do them with. That goes back to my values as well. But it also is a process of saying no to things, learning what you don't value, what you don't like. I don't like working 14 hours per day. I don't like not exercising and eating trashy food and surrounding myself with mercenaries and many other things that I've learned through the years that I don't want as a part of my life. And I want to give that message to people that when you hear others saying, what's your purpose? What are your values? It's like, it needs to be perfect, and it needs to be the purpose, the only purpose that I'm going to have in my life. And no, you're going to change, and your purpose will evolve as well. So chill.
I used to think like purpose and values in business were super fluffy stuff. Like I didn't really see the point of it, to be honest. And then I had, like, during COVID time when that happened, so I run an advertising agency. We work with software companies. We run ads for software companies. So companies like Deal, for example, would be a target client for us. And during COVID times, I had a personal tragedy. Like, my dad passed away very unexpectedly. And also at basically the same time, our business shrunk drastically, more or less overnight. We lost like 50% of our client base in the span of maybe 3 or 4 days. And I remember I was freaking out for a while. That was the first time I'd had what I would classify as like a more significant failure within business. And I remember during those moments, I think that's when I started to understand the importance of culture and values for yourself as a person too, because like when we like, now the business is in the best place it ever has been all these years later, and that's as a result of actually making decisions and doing things that previously I wouldn't have done. It's like me saying no to things. I'm actually working significantly less now than I was back then, but I'm taking much better care of myself, of my family, of the, like, close friends around me. Like, I prioritize those things over the business now, whereas before it was like all I cared about, unfortunately, was building, right? And it's kind of ironic that when I made that switch, it didn't happen instantly, but I made that switch, and now the business is in the best place it's ever been. We're growing, but I'm also doing much better, right? And it's, I don't know, I think sometimes when someone young in their company journey, or maybe they're trying their third, fourth company and it's still not working just yet, when they hear us have conversations like this, it can be difficult, right? Because they're like, well, you're just saying, do what you want, and like, don't do the work. Like,
it's easy for you to say.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say, right? You must get that sometimes too. And I wondered, like, how do you navigate those kind of conversations? Because people must say that to you even, right? Because you've shared the failure that you had where you lost everything. But I would imagine some people don't know that, and they might look at your resume and see WeWork deal, what you're doing now, and be like, well, it's easy for you to say you don't care so much about the money or whatever else, right? How do you handle that? What's your advice to people who are maybe in that difficult position right now?
I learn from reading and I read a ton of books, and I've read a lot of self-help and spiritual stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it always comes back to what you just said. If you take care of your 3 or 4 energies, depending on what who you're reading, physical, emotional, spiritual, in summary, then you will do better. And I think when you are listening to the hustle culture, I work 18 hours per day and I don't have weekends and I'm a machine and blah, blah, blah. This very bro macho culture, ridiculous. But it's very noisy, right? It's everywhere. And it works to make money. So many people start following that.
Because
advice.
I think it can be useful at times. Because I think at the beginning, I kind of needed that, actually.
Yeah, you don't have a lot of skills, so you make up the skills with a lot of time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were speaking about him.
Yeah. That's still a problem for him. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But again, what do you value? Is your life only about money? And that's why I like sharing this. Like, I feel like I could have lived a much better, more fulfilled and more successful life if I had done or worked on all my energies or all parts of life, and not only, pursuing money. Which, when you think about it, it doesn't make sense. So
you don't need a lot of money, really.
Also,
yeah. This is probably the most spiritual thing I'll ever say.
Oh wow!
Because I'm not a super spiritual person, but I find that the less I worry about money, the more I have what I need in terms of money.
I think that's because if you approach anything from a place of fear, you're not gonna attract that thing, whatever that is, if you're
it's the universe.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Are you comfortable to spend a little bit of time talking about some of your personal or business failures? Like, because I would love to learn from you a little bit on like...
But I haven't failed. Failure?
Perpetual success.
But like, so let's focus on Fuck Up Inc., right? That's the business. So what have been some of the more challenging moments or bigger failures that you've experienced building this, and how did you overcome those?
2 come to my mind. One is I became a CEO. We created the scalable business model. We became a social enterprise. Everything was going amazingly well. And then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And we were 99.9% in-person events and workshops and stuff and experiences. So we got hit hard, really, really hard. And that moment of being a leader and feeling like, because you're the leader, you need to give certainty to people in the middle of complete uncertainty was really, really hard for me. Like, losing money. Oh, you need to lower your salaries. Yeah. We need to let people go. We need to cut vendors, and their families are also impacted, etc., etc. And also, on top of that, saying, hey, Pepe, but what's going to happen? What's the plan? The honest answer is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, that was very, very tough for me.
It's hard to get motivated in a situation like that, isn't it? Because you have to work, I've got to work twice as hard. I'm going to earn half the amount of money, and I've got to do the shittiest work I could possibly imagine.
Had you had to go through something like that before within business, or was this like...
Not like that, not as difficult.
Because I'm thinking like, so the business I run right now, this was the first business I started. So I'm very grateful and fortunate that the spot that I'm in today is off the back of my first business, because I know that
not always the case.
Yeah, it's not always the case. I know that. But I feel like during the pandemic times that I had to learn truly what it meant and how to actually be a leader during that. Because I was learning as I was growing the company, but like I never truly experienced what that looked like until that moment, right? And so going through something similar to what you shared, I was like, okay, I need to figure out, half of our business has just disappeared in a few days. I'm dealing with these personal tragedy and struggle too, but I also don't want to fire anyone or let anyone go. So it's like, how can I keep things running as long as possible without making any of those decisions and all these other things that are going on? And I feel like I can't be the only one. You've shared a story about similar. There must be so many people that almost learn how to be leaders or how to run a business during that time, right? Which is kind of crazy to think about now, these years later. Like, do you look back at that time now? I don't want to say like happy that it happened, of course, but like, do you look back at that thinking, okay, I learned so much and I changed how the company looks today because of those times? Like, what's your learning from how you handled that experience?
That's a great question. It's hard to say I'm grateful for that experience, but in a way,
it's weird, right?
It happens.
Because like for me, that was the worst time in my life, but I kind of weirdly feel good that it happened. I don't know how to explain it.
With my first business, it failed. I'm super grateful for that experience because it shaped me completely who I am now. I was heading in a different trajectory, and I don't know if I would have recovered. And now I feel like I'm much more myself. I faced up to a lot of my own shortcomings, and I can't complain about it. It was a great experience.
Well, I think that my biggest takeaway from this specific moment of losing a lot of money and, you know, making a mess, is ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to solve everything. I was finding inside the answers inside myself that I should know. I should be transparent and vulnerable, but at the same time give them certainty and blah blah blah. And I didn't ask for help, even though I have amazing mentors and people that surround me. I should have asked for more advice because people have gone through way worse things.
Do you think that comes through? Maybe shame is too strong, but like, do you think it's because we don't want to share when things aren't going, or like, why do you think that is? Because I would say the same. Like when something in the past went seriously wrong within the business, like that time, my default now is different. But back then my default was like, I'm going to try and fix everything. And that means that I'm like tunnel vision, laser focused, which is very valuable at times. But at the same time, it's like, dude, if you just ask someone for advice on this or help on this, probably would have been better for you and everybody else, right? Like, how do you think about it? How do you think about that?
I think we can make an analogy with the big leaders, like the Winston Churchills of the world. Compared to that, what we have done is like a joke, right? Or our difficulties are,
we need to like zoom out sometimes, right? Yeah.
But also, when you compare to that, first you stop taking yourself so seriously, and secondly, you understand that leadership is compromising, and leadership, yes, is a lonely place, but only if you allow it to be a lonely place. If you don't ask for help, if you don't surround yourself with people, if you don't delegate, but not only in the sense of operations, but also ownership, accountability, and decisions, strategic decisions to your team. And now I see that. I see that my team is doing amazing things, taking very difficult decisions and conversations that they didn't before. And I feel so proud about that because they are growing so much. And it also teaches me the way I should have done things before as a team, with mentors, with advisors, with other people, and understanding that we had to compromise. And in a difficult situation, in a crisis, not everyone is going to win. But you need to make what's best for most people.
Do you ever get involved with founders or leaders as they are failing to help them recover that situation?
Just with friends. When they call me and they say, let's have a chat, but just, peer-to-peer, entrepreneur to entrepreneur.
Yeah.
More like Pepe Villatoro, not Pepe Fuck Up.
I've got to get you a number one day. No, but that would be really helpful, right? Because like the way to recover a company is if you're failing or if you have failed, you got to recover yourself first, right? Because if you can't recover yourself, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another huge message, which is, if you're not okay, you cannot make other people's okay. You cannot help others. I learned that from my mom.
Yeah. I always think to myself that I can't be a good leader for others if I'm not a good leader for myself. Like I think about that a lot, of like, how can I expect someone else to know what to do in this situation if I don't know what to do myself in that situation? Or like, how can I expect someone to lead from a place of authenticity and vulnerability if I'm not being that leader for the rest of my team and things? I think about that a lot. Yeah.
Going back to the hustle culture.
Yeah.
If you are young, trying to make something for yourselves, think about that. Do you want to build a company where the culture is working 14 hours per day and being mercenaries and psychos and la la la? Because that's going to be your life, your company, your legacy. So think about it.
Yeah. I talk a lot on LinkedIn about building a business in the same way that you talk about it on my own terms. And I like working around 4 or 5 hours a day, some days more, some days less. But I always talk about this because we're very mindful in our own company culture that we don't want to develop a mentality among our team that, we're going to work really long hours, we're going to push really hard, and I don't want anyone to get sick on my dime, and people will often ask me like, well, when do I start, or how do I do that? And like, I don't know, personally, I feel like the only time to start is like right now, because you're not going to get to where you want to be and feel happy with that. You're going to be like this for the rest of your life. And that's kind of going in line with what you were saying, right?
Exactly right. Yeah.
It all comes down to accountability and ownership over your own actions ultimately, right? Because it's like really, I know a lot of founders and CEOs find it hard to even think about taking a day off or let alone a week off or whatever else, right? And it's like really everyone can do that if you just have to force yourself to do this, like I think people put too many barriers in front of themselves in these kind of situations.
Build accordingly.
Yeah, because like otherwise if you're setting that example of I can't even take a day off or I can't do this, it's like that's never going to change. Like you're screwed.
And is that the world you want to create?
Right.
Yeah, I think the way I think about it is competing with myself and not competing with Elon Musk or others. And that's a way healthier way of doing things. And I think that's where growth really comes around, happens, because you are working on all the different parts of your life, your health, your brain, your knowledge and everything, and your networks and how you want to be of service and everything. Spiritual side of it. And then everything starts clicking and you start growing more efficiently.
I have a couple more questions I would love to ask you, and then I think we might have to start rounding out the conversation soon. But you started, like this business was built around a huge, ultimately like in-person community, right? That's how it began, these in-person events around failure. How can remote companies, organizations, communities, even like Estonian e-residency community, how can people replicate that similar mindset?
Communities are built on two things, in my opinion. One is a cause. What's your cause? If it's just, I want to build a community because for my business, because I want to sell more, that's not a community. That's an audience or a mailing list or whatever.
Right.
And the second is, it's only a community if you feel like people care about you. If not, again, you're just part of a crowd. You haven't built that community. And I'm super excited being here, actually, because e-residency, e-Estonia, like Startup Estonia, Startup Visa are one of the most exciting projects that I've seen in the last decade. And I'm not exaggerating. Let me explain why. When you see e-residency, for example, I think of blockchain. I think of a platform that allows people all over the world to change their lives with transparency, with minimum risk, etc. And for me, therefore, e-residency stands for democratization of entrepreneurship, which is completely aligned with what we do at Fuck Up Nights. And I absolutely love that because my purpose is to help people live life to the fullest, breaking free of taboos and paradigms and stigmas. And in my opinion, the way to live life to the fullest is to be a creator, not just doing the work that someone else told you to do and living the life someone else told you to live. So if we can democratize entrepreneurship, it moved me deeply. Like, I'm from southern Mexico. I'm from the poorest state in Mexico. Most indigenous people that don't speak Spanish. And to be able to open a company in Estonia, access the European market, get a bunch of grants, investment, community, it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely life-changing. And I've heard those stories from e-residents, like the refugee, the mother, the single mother. It's life-changing. So that's a huge cause, in my opinion. And that's a great example of a cause on how to build a strong community or a movement even, not only a community. Democratization of entrepreneurship. And then how do you make people care about it? And that's something I've been thinking about it. Like, wow, this is massive government innovation. This changes lives. But they are still lacking maybe some of the community part. How can I, Fuck Up Nights, enable that? How can I help them with the playbook, with the structures, with the teams all over the world to build that community of cultural ambassadors for Estonia and for the program, so many more people listen to these life-changing stories and know that this is available, because everyone all over the world should be using it. It's the way to go. So yeah, caring about people, truly building communities, and having a great cause and communicating it well. You guys know that I'm a true believer in storytelling and the power of sharing emotional stories. At the end of the day, that becomes a massive global marketing bazooka. So I think that's also the way to think about it if you want to be super effective and results oriented.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when you were telling the story about that guy telling the story before, I didn't want to sound uncool or anything, but I was like holding back a couple of tears.
That's not cool.
I'll leave.
So uncool, dude. Okay,
but thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, we have a tradition around here as we start to wrap things up, which you can probably, I hope you can see on this wall. We have a bunch of different coffee cups behind us that have all been signed by previous guests that we've had on the podcast. And so what we do is we ask everyone to take a cup. So feel free to pick. I mean, Logan can grab it for you. Which one looks good to you?
You don't want to grab one down here.
Don't go low.
Let's do it. I'm going to do this one.
Nice.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
nice. And then
I'm a marketer. I want to be up there.
Of course, yeah.
And then
now write your logo on there. No.
So everyone has just left some kind of message for people on the cups. You can write whatever you want. And then at the same time, we do have a couple of like quick fire questions.
Wow.
That's the idea, but it's pretty hard for a lot of people, to be honest with you. So
it sounds really, really difficult.
And if you stop, then we throw water at you. It's a real thing.
And there's a time limit.
I'm gonna say a ton of stupid shit. Go ahead.
But they're very easy questions. So maybe Logan, you can take
so what is your go-to coffee order? You go to the cafe. What do you usually order?
Flat white with oat milk.
Why oat milk?
I just love the taste. Now, before I hated it, but now I like it.
Why?
And also, environmental concerns. Yeah,
gotcha. Oats are good. Yeah.
You said earlier that, so the quick fire question is what's your go-to business book? But I want to frame it slightly differently, because you said earlier you love to read, right?
I do.
What has been the most impactful book that you've read in the last 12 months?
It's funny. Buy Back Your Time.
Okay.
Really? I don't remember the author, but going back to living life the way you want to live it, and going back to the idea of being the richest person in the graveyard is a very stupid idea. I loved it because it allowed me to have more time to do the important things, the things where I really move the needle for my company, and also empowering my team way more instead of being right there, doing things that I'm not the best at.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation. I haven't read that one
Yeah,
yet,
me
but it's on
neither.
my list.
Yeah, I'm going to write it down.
And who's your dream advisor? If you could have like a mentor or someone, and it can't be me and it can't be Dylan.
Come on. Wow, that's a great one. My ideal advisor would be Yvon Chouinard from Patagonia.
Oh, really?
The founder of Patagonia, because just he built a company, a movement, changed the culture. Yeah, so that's what I strive to do and what I'm working on. And he did it selling stuff, which sounds very difficult.
And super strong on his morals as well. I think they stopped doing all paid media via Facebook. And that's like for a direct-to-consumer brand, that's like suicide. But somehow it's been a good move for them.
Yeah, I also love what the new CEO did, which is they got like $10 million more, I don't know in what year, because of tax legislation that makes the rich richer. And the CEO just gave it away as a statement to environmental NGOs, but not only to support the biodiversity and not going extinct as a civilization, but also as a statement, as a political statement of saying this shouldn't happen, this money shouldn't be here.
Okay, last question, and then we're going to get you to show your message after this. So what was your most recent fuck up?
A big one, big one is losing all of my money 8 years ago because I wanted more money, because I went for the easy opportunity, the nice pitch, the thing that looked too good to be true now that I look back on it. And I was, too focused on making more and more money faster, so focused that I didn't see obvious signs. And I got involved in a case of fraud and I lost my money. Right after I had worked or mortgaged my life for 12, 13 years to reach financial independence. So like double stupidity.
It's a good way to smoke out any, greed and whatnot, right? Have a good fuck up.
Yeah.
Because it changes you. It changes the way you approach life going forward.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Okay, you're adding things.
I'm writing.
Do you need a second
that's
cup?
like the third time.
I love books, so I'm writing one. And then I put my name.
Yeah, put your name on there. And then if you could tell us what you've written
and show it
to the camera. I think this one here.
Failure, pain, and fear are information waiting to be acted upon.
Okay, nice.
I love that idea, that phrase, because we tend to think about those three monsters, fear, pain, and failure, as something to get away from or something to hide under the carpet. And then we create time bombs and then we don't grow as people. But if we see them as information, then we stop assigning so much suffering to them. That's a personal decision. We are deciding to attach the suffering to the situation, to the event, but it's just an event. And it's showing you the way to improve.
Yeah, that's huge, actually.
Yeah,
that's massive.
Yeah, this has been a really great conversation.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us in our e-residency cafe today as well. I hope you've had a good time here. For more on your work, I want to make sure everyone checks out fuckupnights.com. But let's wrap up the conversation here, I think. So
thanks so much, man.
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure you subscribe and don't miss the next episode.